We took a gamble tonight, Chris.
The fuck was that?
Dice.
I felt like we gambled with how much goddamn money we spent on these fucking seats. I'll tell you that right now. Jesus Christ.
So I think it's always worth starting out a discussion with a Quiet Place movie with talking about the experience you had watching it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's very relevant what your experience is. If you're trying to watch it in the house and the kids are running around and you're distracted.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's a mess.
Yeah.
You go to a theater and there's a lot of people talking. It's a mess.
Yeah.
So I would say we had a good experience in that regard. There's one couple chitter-chatting a little bit. It wasn't too bad, though.
I didn't hear that couple.
They were behind me.
I heard the dude next to me.
They were a little obnoxious, but we had a really interesting theatrical experience that made it easier to ignore them. So overall, not as good as an experience as the first one, independent of the quality of the movie. But
Ian made us watch it on a roller coaster.
we checked this one out in 4DX.
I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
I was a little worried during those trailers because it was fun, but I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, how am I supposed to watch this?
The trailers were a
movie?
bit out of control and it went on for a long time. I'll
Yeah.
give you that. But for the movie, it was really nice.
It settled in,
Yeah.
Yes. We have done it. We've gone back to the theaters, which
First
was
time,
a fun
too.
experience to go back to the theaters finally. Fun movie to see in the theaters. Movie specifically well made for theaters.
First time since we saw Underwater, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think so.
Yeah, that was my movie of the year. It's a controversial topic. We're not getting into that today. So, A Quiet Place 1 came out, and we were both pretty big fans of it.
Yeah.
I enjoy the gimmick quite a bit. An alien creature or whatever, and you can't make noise because it's super sensitive to it. It tracks you from that. It's a great idea for a horror movie.
Yeah.
Really ratchets up tension in scenes and can be used in really creative ways, which they did in that movie. And that movie ends, and it ends pretty well, and there's great character arcs and stuff, and I was like, yes, then there's going to be A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah.
A movie that I thought really didn't need to exist.
I would tend to agree. I saw the first one, this ended perfect, just leave it alone. Was my thinking. And then the trailer dropped approximately 4 years ago, if my mental
Something
math.
like that.
It feels like 4 years ago that trailer dropped. And I haven't seen that trailer since then. I've avoided it as they've ramped up again now. I hated that trailer. Like, what is this, The Walking Dead, but with different monsters? It looked like it was going to be one of those, the people are the real monsters kind of a story, which is, valid, but well done at this point.
Yes.
So, wasn't too enthused about this one.
Like all good art, Ian, if there's an opportunity to make a shitload of money, you make a sequel. And that's what they did. And this time, John Krasinski wrote it himself, still directing.
Yeah. So I think he did a rewrite on the script for the previous one, too. He was involved in the writing.
Okay, yes, I do remember that. Beck Woods, I think, wrote the original, and he was helpful in that. So, we are back at it. We're going to get into spoilers at some point, because I got a lot to talk about, but that's shit. Do you want to just lay down what... Like, if you haven't seen A Quiet Place 1, you shouldn't be watching this. You shouldn't even watch Quiet Place 2, but...
Aliens from space, you can't make noise. Shine a flashlight all you want, but don't make any noise. Generally speaking, we're mostly, other than a bit of a flashback, we're set well into the apocalypse. So
like
people have
days or
people have adapted to it. So part of the fun is watching their adaptations and watching the circumstances they find themselves in, and how do they use their adaptations to extricate themselves from situations. What problems do they run into? It's all very interesting and all helps to build the tension and such of the movie.
Yes.
And it creates an interesting set of rules that they never have to tell you about because you see it all, which I love.
Yeah,
but I could have just described the first movie. We're back at it. Picks up pretty much, with the exception of starting out with a bit of a flashback, picks up right where we left off in the last one.
Somehow the kids are now 20-year-olds. It's
been
okay, we're letting it go. It is what it is.
I didn't rewatch the first one recently. Have you?
No.
Was it I wonder if it's obvious.
I have to assume they probably look way different. But I don't care about that.
Yeah, it didn't feel obvious to me, but I don't think I've seen it since I saw it in the theater, the first one in the theater.
So, I assume you're a big fan?
Well, we just said how hesitant we were.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, I loved it. It was awesome.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good follow-up. It wasn't the thing that I was worried it was going to be.
Which was?
Just like The Walking Dead, but with a different type of monster.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Which, looking at this movie, I'm not sure how you would have made a trailer that would have appeased me, which is fine. It's just a trailer at the end of the day, and I was going to go see it regardless of what you did with the trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it expanded the scale in some ways. It kept it tight enough, though. Like, part of what I like about that first was how tight and claustrophobic is the wrong word, but small scale within the large scale thing happening, we're so focused on these characters, and it's
the interesting setting,
and it caught a nice balance here. The sound design is impeccable, just like the first one.
Shot on film too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 35 millimeter. It looks it's a nice looking movie,
and I loved the way the story was edited and written and then edited to kind of, because you kind of get your characters separated, and it kind of they're often mirroring tension between different characters.
Clever. Yeah,
it's been done in a lot of movies, but I thought it was exceptionally well done here.
Yeah. I think there's some really good tense scenes in this movie. Some really good execution on those tense scenes. I think the directing is really good. I think the actors are really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's more of the same.
In some ways, yeah.
I mean, I think it's pretty much exactly the same, in a way that didn't justify its existence for me.
I disagree. Because it does ratchet up the scale a bit. Like, they're reaching out to more people.
Sure.
It's not just the family.
But that's the sloppiest shit in the entire movie, for me. Oh, there's other people. It's just crazies, like in every other...
Not just that. Some of that exists.
And then there's well, I'll get into some more. Yeah.
But they're not just trying to survive in this one like they were in the first one. I mean, yes, that's part of it, just trying to survive. But they're also trying to expand their ability to help others.
Sure,
and that's the expansion of the story.
But the idea behind that was incredibly stupid to me.
It was at the end of the day, was the
like
same
MacGuffin type nonsense.
It's the same solution as the first, but now they're providing it to other people and in a much broader scale kind of a way.
In a, as far as I'm concerned, nonsense kind of way. Like, it's just so. This movie to me is very vapid. It's just like
was the first one nonsense to you as well, though?
No, because the way they... Well, yeah, the first one is filled with plot holes as well. Like, you can start pulling apart strings if you want, and okay, the movie kind of falls apart in a lot of ways, I think. Why don't you live next to the fucking waterfall? Like, that's obvious. Like, there's stupid stuff like that.
Not a plot
like, we're not going to put a baby...
alternate choice.
Whatever, we're not going to put a baby in a box, and this the idea starts to fall apart, I think, of, actually surviving. But
that's the least fun way to approach this movie, I think.
Sure. And that I can forgive all, I do forgive all that shit, because what worked so well in the first movie was the characters and that dynamic between John Krasinski and his daughter and their butting heads and the growth of their relationship and the arc they go through. And in this movie, there's basically none of that. There's some really passed off lines of you're not my dad. Well, no fucking shit. And you didn't even give the chance to introduce Cillian Murphy in a way where he had any sort of... Killian, whatever. He has zero character. Like, you learn a little bit of backstory, but he's just like this filler who comes in as I'm John Krasinski 2.0. I'm not quite as good looking, but god damn it, I'll do the job.
But I'm more interesting looking.
And it's they're projecting. She's projecting these things on him that don't
in
ever
a movie
get
with
earned.
so little dialogue.
That's
relative to most movies. It's harder to provide that much character. I thought they did enough.
Maybe.
Especially you get the sense he's not as good a dude as John Krasinski from the first movie, because he's a little cowardly.
I didn't get that.
I think they tried to establish that with the intro. Not excessively. They didn't go over the top with it.
With his I'm saying you can't stay here.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Also that too. I meant more the flashback to the initial.
I didn't see it was cowardly in his behavior there, but I guess I could have missed something.
Perhaps. I don't remember specifically what led me to that conclusion. But he's just. And not to say he's a bad man. He's just not quite as altruistic necessarily as John Krasinski's character.
John Krasinski in this one is infallible. I don't remember enough, I guess, maybe at the first one. I know he was projecting some blame on his daughter because they lost the kid or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to rectify that in his mind and taking out his emotions on people who didn't deserve it. And so there's some...
That element was a lot stronger in the first one, I'll grant you.
So there's some understandable character there. He's not super heroic and infallible. Yeah. And in this, he's like a memory. So I get why he is there.
Yeah.
But they just don't earn, to me, any of that dynamic they try and throw in with the deaf girl and Cillian Murphy's character.
Yeah.
He just, again, just really feels like a stand-in. And it's
potentially, the interesting storyline here that potentially they didn't, I'll grant you that they didn't necessarily expand on enough. And maybe it would have come through a little more had it been a little bit more focused on Cillian Murphy's character from the start. Where it's he's this flawed man. He wasn't able to keep his family safe. Light spoiler. I know we didn't get into spoilers proper yet. And he's feeling less than adequate, and he wants them to leave because he doesn't have enough food and water and he can't care for them. But like Regan, the deaf girl, she pulls the best out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought that was an interesting storyline. Now, it's subtle, as this movie tends to be in a lot of ways.
I think because that turn happens immediately with him, where he just like, okay, I guess I'll be the hero guy. And come in and I'll save the day multiple times in repetitive situations, which is what, I guess a problem a lot I have with this thing.
It's just movies.
And I'm guessing I'm probably in the minority with this movie. But it's just like, the gimmick was cool in the first one, it's more of the exact same.
Yeah, but they explored it in new ways.
But that's where I think I did. Like, yes, there's some scenes that are kind of cool. That whole oxygen scene, we'll get to spoiler shit. But it's just like, we learn one new thing about these aliens, and what we learn makes them even less interesting to me. And so, like, we don't learn anything about the characters. They're all the same. The ending, almost exactly the same as the first one. It's just like, putting us through the paces, and it's fine.
You're not entirely wrong.
It's fine to me as a shallow yet entertaining movie with really great action, tense sequences that are executed extremely well.
Yes.
With high quality
Execution's
actors.
very good.
And really well shot, and everything is super pro.
Yeah.
I just wish the story and the characters had some more growth or depth.
I'd hear that argument. I think I was relatively content for just some more of the same.
Yeah,
especially like, it's my first time in a theater in like maybe not quite a year and a half, but getting close to it. Not since January 2020. We had this fun 4DX experience, and I was just on board for the spectacle, you know?
$50 for spectacle, though. I'm telling you, it's quite a bit.
Exaggerating.
Yeah, but we said the same thing. Like Army of the Dead. Like, yeah, I guess I am cynical with Hollywood movies because I always feel like people are so unforgiving of production values in lower budget movies, but the stories there usually are much more unique and interesting a lot of times.
They can be, but frequently aren't.
They are, yes, I guess. But it's just like, with all the resources in the world, why do you have to why does the story always feel like it's lacking to me?
No, man, it doesn't feel that lacking to me. It was enough.
There was no story, though. It was just,
there was plenty of
we showed up here, we go there, and
it didn't reach an artificial bar you set for it that it never tried to achieve.
What was the story?
It's just trying to survive in the apocalypse and expanding.
It's reactionary, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's the world you live in. Like,
Perhaps.
The world they've set up is a reactionary world. All you can do, you don't have time and this is like, if anything, it's the expansion beyond the first movie, because they're no longer just reacting. Now they're reacting, but also actively trying to help other people. And that's like all you can hope for in this type of scenario.
I wanted a catalyst, a motivation that didn't really come. It felt like everything was setting up.
The catalyst is the ending of the previous movie.
Sure.
Like, that is, like, they literally pick up that night.
Yes, you're right.
It's still fresh in their heads.
Yes.
And they're like, we need to do something. And they don't have somewhere to call home at the moment. I don't know why they couldn't have stayed in their home.
Because the movie needed them to do that. That's what I'm saying. That's the stuff like that. And
see, that doesn't even bother me that much, because clearly they need a better alternative than what they have, especially now that they have a baby on board. You don't really want to travel with a baby, granted. We haven't even touched on the one thing that I would nitpick about.
These movies mirror the Last of Us video game in a lot of ways. And especially this one, where it's like an older guy and a younger girl journeying through this post-apocalypse that's all overgrown. And the first game is all about these two characters, and the second game is as well, but exploring them in different dynamics. Like, they continued the most important idea in a story, which is its characters. And in this movie, it just feels like they put them as an afterthought.
Another interesting element to this was watching these kids become the next generation.
Self-reliant.
Self-reliant.
Yes, that was cool with the mirroring of that, yes.
They mirrored that very nicely towards the ending of the movie, but like, they're not just going to be the kids that need their daddy's protection anymore.
Yes, I agree.
They're going to be the ones who adapt to this world even better than their parents, probably.
Yeah.
And going to carry that into the future. And I thought that came through as a nice theme as well.
Yes, I did like that.
To the extent that I would accept your argument that there's not enough story, I would say they contemplate themes more than they contemplate story. And that's just as interesting to me.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's all interesting to me.
It is
and
interesting.
Because it's so well executed, it's easy to forgive, even if it is missing. Story, which I still don't know that I entirely buy. Because again, there's no specific amount of story that all movies have to reach.
No,
you create an interesting enough premise, your story can lack. If your premise is boring or uninteresting, then yeah, you need to make up for that with story.
So. Right, which I thought the first one had an interesting premise. which was
And
already
an interesting
established.
story.
And then this movie just continues onward from that, which is why the first movie feels like it's this, and this movie kind of feels like it's this for me.
Fair. So the one thing I do want to nitpick, and I think it is time to at least open the door to spoilers.
That door has been opened.
Not going to go hard into spoilers yet, light spoilers, because it's still middle of the movie kind of action.
Light spoilers.
The place where I would nitpick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers. They run into the Cillian Murphy and Regan trying to find a boat to get to an island, and they run into a group of people who are trapping people on docks where the boats are. None of the people who live on the docks and the boats have figured out that the creatures can't swim. That was kind of dumb.
Dude, none of the people who live on the docks and the boats, have realized to just live in a boat. Yeah, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, they didn't get out to sea, but maybe they don't have supplies to do that. Mm-hmm. I'll grant that they need to stay near shore. But they haven't figured out to jump in the water when the issue comes. Regan and Cillian Murphy's character, that was their first thought. That was first draft idea on what to do when on the docks and the creatures come. The people who literally live there never thought of that. They all go running and jumping onto boats and trying to get away on their boats, and it's like, just jump in the water. We saw
that whole scenario bugged me. Mm-hmm. It was so predictable, unbelievably predictable. Like you saw the little girl, the whole thing that played out there.
I just thought being in the water would mean that you couldn't hear you. Especially if you're not, sputtering and breathing and splashing. If you could just stay underwater for a minute, they'd pass along and you could come back up. I thought that's what it was going to be. So I didn't realize that
they just can't
spoilers.
Swim.
The creatures can't swim.
That whole scene with those survivor people just felt kind of like an afterthought. Although they looked like they had red eyes or something, like there was something else going on. Yeah. But then it's never. I was
wondering if we were going to find out, because again, I thought this was going to go in Walking Dead territory. They were cannibals, and having a lack of certain vitamins was causing their skin to look weird or something.
Maybe, I don't know.
But no, they never. But I mean, this movie, even the first movie, was real low on explaining things.
Which is
you never really understand the aliens.
Which is good for me.
So as a rule, it's good. But I'm also curious now. So the aliens can't swim. That's fine. They can't get out to the island. But what is their tech ability? How did they get to this
This is why
planet?
you don't make a sequel to A Quiet Place.
Fair.
That's exactly the problem, right? Because then, that's what I said. Now we know they can't swim. And I'm like, they're fucking aliens who arrived apparently on a huge-ass meteor. They can't fucking swim.
A meteor's a ship of some
kind. If it's a ship, you'd think they would understand water. And water is an abundant thing throughout the galaxy.
Maybe they come from a thirsty wasteland, They come from a planet that...
But if they're planet hopping, they know what water is.
Potentially, this could be theoretically their first planet they've taken. But also, they don't have a ship that can get back on and take off and then go land somewhere else.
And that's the stuff. Yeah. These conversations.
Yeah.
That's why I don't need the information. The mystery worked because you don't have to ask these questions.
Especially when you kept the story as tight as you did in the first movie.
And so, expanding on it does make me worried. And then they're like, we're just not going to tell you really anything except that because it's convenient to the story going where it does in the third act, which was super fast. This movie was ended in an hour and a half. It could have been 2 hours because I would have liked to build upon that third act a little bit more.
Potentially.
So goddamn rushed.
I don't know what more I needed out of that third act.
You couldn't get. Yeah, there was nothing more, but it just still felt
especially given that it is, at the end of the day, kind of the same ending as the first movie in many ways, just different scale. Yeah. So, I mean, you could add more action if you wanted to, but I don't feel like this movie lacked enough action either.
No, I feel like the action is what was so good about it.
Yeah.
So it's super entertaining, and I am being nitpicky because.
But this is your movie of the year, isn't it?
No, it's definitely not. I don't know.
So this isn't Underwater?
The thing with no, we're not getting into Underwater. I guess I felt like there was more potential there, but it's we already did kind of go through. It's the same character, so it's hard to have new dynamics. Yeah, with their growth of their characters. That's what Alien and Aliens does so well. Because
and you're right, Cillian Murphy's character didn't dramatically upset the paradigm for the family.
No, at all.
He supported them in some ways, and not that it didn't affect them, but you kind of got the sense with a few little things that maybe Regan was worried that this was going to replace her dad. Meanwhile, this is the day after her dad died. And it was going to totally disrupt the whole family. But I wouldn't have liked that. That would have been annoying as hell.
But
Yeah.
I do think they waste a lot of potential with his character and throwing something in there that makes it more dramatic. Because, like I said it 40 million times, it's like, she's like, you need to go after her. And he's like, I'm not doing it. And then, of course, he saves her multiple times and becomes the hero immediately.
At a certain point, you're pot committed, though.
You are.
Getting back to that gambling thing, like once you're on that dock, you're not going to not save her. Like, I'm already in this. I mean, like, what am I going to do? Go back to my safe haven and tell him, sorry, I couldn't find her. You know what I mean?
No, but they had time with that flashback. They could have set up some more problems between these families or these people, and so they were... There's something more there that could have grown or changed. Or
Yeah, that would have dragged the movie down, though.
I guess.
It would have been less action and less fun.
I mean, yeah, but
Turn off your brain occasionally, Chris.
You always want the brain turned off.
You don't have to turn your brain off for all movies. Like, I like a good, thoughtful movie, but like this, you came to the wrong movie if you were looking for a really thoughtful thing.
I don't think A Quiet Place Part 1 is a thoughtless movie.
No.
I don't think it's
But
vapid,
neither is this.
But it's way more.
It's maybe a skosh less.
Okay. We can agree to disagree.
We're just going in circles now.
We are going in circles. All that being said, it's my movie of the fucking year. All that being said, I still really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
Even though I was a bit disappointed by it.
Yeah, I would absolutely recommend this one in theaters if you have theaters near you playing it, and if you feel comfortable doing so. Well worth the time, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the time. It's a fun movie, fun time.
I thought as far as the 4DX experience goes, I went into this thinking it would either be the best movie ever to see in this context or the worst ever, just because it doesn't necessarily have all of the potential that like a big budget action-y Army of the Dead type movie or Marvel type movie would have. Because those are the best types of movies to see this in.
Army of the Dead,
big budget action, all the set pieces would be great for this. And it was just kind of medium, I thought.
Well, Army of the Dead would be great because you'd be so busy trying to hang on, you wouldn't think about all the plot holes in the fucking thing while you're watching it. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, this doesn't need to be seen in 4DX, but it was nice. I liked it. It was a fun way to see the movie.
Yes. That's it. Quiet Place Part 2. Go see it, I guess. And then...
Do it.
Tell me how I was wrong, I guess. I'm sure we'll get some angry comments about that.
Love telling Chris why he's wrong.
You're wrong, Chris. Turn your brain off.
I mean, not for every movie, but for some.
Yeah. Well, all right.
You know what we haven't done in a while?
What's that?
Smash that subscribe button!
I think there's a good reason why we haven't done that in a while.
Or don't. Probably don't.
All right, that's going to do it, guys.
If this is your first time at Bad Movie Night, you probably hate most of the movies we cover compared to this one. This is very outside of our normal range.
Yeah. Although, we're getting into it. I'm going to start watching all the Marvel movies backwards.
I don't want to hear your take on the Marvel movies.
They'll be like, Chris, you don't need a brain for these, Chris. That's what makes them good, is not having any critical thought.
The point of them is to be fun.
We made 30 of them. They're just all fun.
Yeah, it's great. Bye.
We always have different opinions, Ian.